What up, guys? Today we have an undefeated Ivankov list. This is Chris with the Small Hat Crew. I have with me Nick and Garren, of course. But it's the moment of truth. We're gonna show you the pretty boy that did it all. All right, beautiful. What are you playing today?
Hey, so my name is Brandon Sotomayor, and I played Ivankov.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, so Ivankov, I actually just threw this deck together right before the tournament.
God, that's such a pretty leader you got there.
Thank you. It's not mine.
No, that's not true. Don't say that.
I ran this.
No, you didn't.
So, so let's get into the deck list. First, for the stage, I'm running 3.
Point them this way so the people can see, so the people can take it all in.
So I ran 3 new comma land. 4 is too clunky, and typically turn 1, if you don't see this, you're gonna see Buggy, and Buggy can search your new comma land. So
one thing people might be curious about, so why is it that 4 is clunky when the stage can discard itself for the draw?
So typically out of life, and I put a few triggers in here as well, but typically if you're getting out of life and you see a new comma land or you top deck a new comma land late in the game, it just feels bad, especially out of life. So that's where 3 is the perfect number.
Makes sense.
All right. I don't think we need any explanation for Buggy.
Nah, just the Nami. And put down Nami.
The Nami, but also it's kind of really important when you play Buggy because typically, yes, turn 1 you're gonna play Buggy, but then also if you go second and you have 8 Dawn and you're able to, let's say you have Ivankov in hand but you don't have a second piece to it, you can Buggy on your 8th Dawn to get something and then play Ivankov.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I ended up doing that about 3 times in this tournament and it was a lifesaver. So I know some people don't opt in for it. I get the Perona.
I agree with Perona. I'm a fan.
Yes.
It's such a good top deck.
I'm a huge fan of Perona, a great top deck, but also just like the Buggy, if you have an even amount of Dawn and you're about to play Ivankov, it's great to drop Perona so that you know what Ivankov is going to draw you.
Yeah.
Also, if you already have, let's say, the Luffy in hand, you're going to drop Perona, drop Ivankov, drop the Luffy, you're going to discard, and then at the end of your turn, because of Perona, you know what 2 cards you're going to draw with Leader.
Makes sense.
So I was able to stack Love Mellows and 2Ks on top deck with Perona all game.
Yeah, because Perona is so disgusting. I feel like topping a Perona, putting Ivankov on the top of the deck, drawing it with the stage, and then just going nuts after is insane.
Absolutely.
Such a good card. For 1 Dawn, too. That's so efficient.
Yes, Perona is just honestly one of the best blue cards in the game.
I don't understand how they don't play her.
Yeah. Alvida just works with this deck so much. I know when we...
Do you actually put it on board?
Yes, so in set 1, it was no more than hand piece, but in set 2, with Zoro running rampant, you'll play Alvida every now and then. For the most part, she's still going to be a 2K counter, but she does get some playability.
Gotcha.
Yes.
What matchups do you like to play it against?
I normally only drop her against Zoro and...
I imagine Law, probably?
So Zoro, yes, Red Green Law, it actually helped in my Red Green Law matchup, and then sometimes depending against Green.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Getting Green today, but it helps against Okiku.
Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Absolutely. Same reason with the Perona, especially if you have 10 Dawn.
Yeah.
So Dofi is a really good second turn card. Stack your deck, and then if you have 10 Dawn, one of my favorite plays is Dofi and then Ivankov because you know exactly what's coming.
So that brings up something then worth note. So you have a blocker that doesn't die to Vista, of course, but I also noticed. So do you not play the 1-drop Law block?
I do not play the 1-drop Law block.
Is it because of Vista and Kobe, or?
So Vista, so many things kill it right now. Law blocker almost never is an actual blocker.
Yeah, no, he's not.
And it doesn't have counter.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not a fan of any of the 1-drop blockers without counter.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Even Luffy drops Chopper.
Yep. Everything just drops them. I only run 2 Mihawk.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
He's not searchable with anything in the deck.
Right.
And honestly, I just needed room to fit some of my text in here.
Okay.
So I opted to take Mihawk down to 2.
Huh, okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
In last format, I really liked 4 Mihawk because I like his ability when attacking.
Oh, you actually put it on board?
So in set 1 I did, in set 2 I found myself not putting it on board because of things like jet pistols, stuff
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
That's my favorite.
I know that was in set 1, but in set 2 there's a lot more that deals with it, especially with green. You're just never going to play.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. The best card in the deck, Inazuma.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yes.
This card is ridiculous. 8K blocker for 4 Dons. Insanity. Oh my god.
It's always going to have 7K when you need it to, if you play it right. So as long as, you know, leader ability, you know what's going to be on top of your deck, you stack 2 2Ks, you can block, drop 1, you're going to have a 9K blocker for 1 card.
Yeah.
Inazuma is just disgusting. Plus what I really like about it is if you play it, it's a 7K both on your turn and your opponent's turn.
Yes.
So I actually found myself swinging with Inazuma a shit ton today.
It makes sense too, because it's like he's so big that if they do go for him, first he's still acting as a blocker,
Yes.
and 2, the amount of investment it would take to actually out him.
Yes.
Because he's so large.
Because what's really important about Ivankov is I'll draw 2, 3 cards from my hand early to protect as much life as possible.
Yeah.
So swinging with this 7K, they still have to respect it because I still have 3 life left. They're not
Yeah.
going to go for game, and then they have to swing at this 7K on board.
Yeah, because he's literally like the primary jet pistol target even.
Yes.
He's just so good, because you don't want to actually try to go into battling him and him skyrocketing his attack. You just deal with him all you can.
Yep. And then actually against red as well, if you have 1 card in hand and you're swinging with everything else, he can't be jet pistoled from life. 'Cause
Yeah,
he's 7
that
on
too,
his
yep.
as well.
Yeah.
He's just insane. Insane.
God.
We got our other blocker. We do run 3 Galdino.
That's 4. That's 4, good sir.
4 Galdino, sorry.
It's
I'm
Mr.
thinking
3, I
Mr.
get it,
3,
yeah.
So we do run 4 Galdino. I only found myself using his end your turn ability once just to get that last 1 card out of my hand.
Yeah, makes sense.
But it does help because you can stack it with leader ability where he discards first and then draw
yeah.
2 cards.
So does that mean then you never actually use him to go on the attack?
I do actually. He usually doesn't live.
Okay.
Because in this deck, like I said, I protect my life as much as possible. He's usually just a blocker for me, but he's also another Ivankov target. He's a 1K counter, and he does have the potential to swing, restand, and become a blocker again, which I actually did do against my red-green law matchup, because swinging over those bodies is so important.
Yeah.
Yep.
God, it's just the fact also Inazuma hits 7. That's the one obnoxious thing about the Ivankov deck. The fact that they just hit 7 repeatedly.
It's always
It just eats your hand. It hits your hand.
We got 2 Crocodile.
Oh, it's another 7.
Yep. So I only run 2 Crocodile. Some people run 4 or 3. I think 2 is the best number. I typically
Yeah, I agree.
never find myself playing it by itself because if I have 4 or 5 Dawn, I usually want to play an Inazuma from hand.
Yeah, makes sense.
Or even the Mr. Galdino to protect that
Yeah.
early life. But it is nice going first and being able to drop Croc on 5, just if you have it.
Oh, you play Croc?
Yeah.
Okay.
2.
Oh, right, that Croc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was...
I do play 2 Croc.
I was like, oh, some spicy tucky here I see. Some blocker Croc maybe? 7 drop?
I run 4 Mr. 2.
And he's just a 2K, right?
Yes, he is just a 2K, but also he actually has some playability. I actually found myself dropping one of them against Red Green Law.
Oh, wow.
Because he can bottom deck something.
It's a 5 or lower, right? Or
And
is it-
then 2 or lower, so
Oh,
it's only
God.
a 2 or lower. So
Okay.
we typically almost never use it as anything but a 2K. But I did find myself having him as the only drop for Ivankov, and then swinging with it, bottom decking one of their cards, still hitting for, I put 2 Dawn on him for 7.
I see.
So I had a 7K swing, bottom decking something, and then he just ended up going to bottom.
So he's like a ghetto Gordon.
Yeah, so you're almost never going to play him, but he is a searchable 2K in
Yeah.
the deck with some playability. Some people only run 3. I love the 4 Luffy. It's, of course, the best Ivankov target.
Yeah.
Typically, even on your turn, you'll drop 2 cards from your hand just to get something off board and make it so that you have 0. So the best combo is, of course, I run the 4 Ivankov.
Yeah.
So typically what you want to do is know what the top of your deck is with
Corona or
your
Doflamingo.
3-drop Dofi, and then drop Ivankov. Ivankov lets you draw up to 3 cards, however many are in your hand, up to 3. Then you drop Luffy as one of the 3. Luffy discards the other
other
2
2.
cards in your hand, so now you have 0, and your leader ability as well.
Yeah.
And it works out. It's not like a sometimes play. It's almost every single time when you have 7 Dawn and drop Ivankov, that's going to happen pretty much every single
Yeah.
time.
I was gonna say, because 4 seems like it could be clunky, but with the stage, I guess there's no such thing as a brick really, because you always draw.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like he's the only thing that really makes Ivankov like a respectable matchup. Because if I play against Ivankov with Luffy, for example, and I don't see the 6-drop Luffy, then I don't really care for the most part. It's just that he can close out that life difference.
Exactly. Speaking of this stage, actually, one thing that I ended up doing so many times in the game, I would have stage and 8 Dawn because I lost almost all of my die rolls. So 8 Dawn, I would do 1 Dawn for Perona, look at top 5, stack Ivankov up top, and then you can do your new comma land. So you can do your stage, draw the Ivankov, pitch whatever you need from your hand, and then you have 7 Dawn for Ivankov.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So new comma land isn't just a blind hit every time. You really want to know what you're drawing half the time.
Yeah.
With Perona or your 3 drops.
Yeah.
Yep, and that helped me so much. So the 4 Dofi, the 4 Ivankov, your primary targets with Ivankov are going to be Luffy. If you don't have Luffy, then you're gonna want to see it.
Inazuma, maybe?
Yeah, Inazuma.
Okay.
The other 50% of the time.
Yeah.
Other than that, Croc is like that's why I only run 2 Croc, because he's the last one that you want to see win.
Yeah, makes sense.
But he's still a 7k if you have nothing else. After the Ivankov, I still love my Mihawks. So I run 3 9-drops.
3 Mihawk.
Yeah, it helped so much, especially going into the mirror match. So I did play against an Ivankov.
Oh, makes sense.
And getting my Mihawk out first, bottom decking his Luffy, and then blue still cannot deal with Mihawk.
Most
things can. So just having that Mihawk on board. Also, worst case scenario, you can pitch it with your stage.
So you're saying you played the mirror and you won?
Yes.
God, was that other Ivankov player like, was he ass?
No comment.
Saw these 2, I only saw 1.
God, you hear the salt.
So
Sore loser baby.
the other cards that I play, so as you can see through the deck, it's really cost effective. Like, you're usually going to use all of your Dawn in a turn, so I don't play the whole event package, but I do play 3 Love Mellows, just because if you have them in hand, 4k plus a draw, and knowing what you're going to draw off of your Dofis and off of your Peronas is huge with this. I was able to stack 1 Love in hand, 1 on top deck, and then like another 2k as well.
It makes sense too, because if there was ever a deck where you're actually going to be below 3 and get the draw, it's going to be Ivankov.
Absolutely. I felt for Love Mellow, I was seeing it too often. I know that feels weird for Love.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, 3 was kind of the sweet spot, because one thing with this deck also, you do want to go down to 0 cards in hand a lot.
Right.
Because you'll know what you're going to draw, which is typically you'll want Love to be one of the cards that you draw with leader ability.
Right.
But you some of it is a little bit luck there. And then the last 2 cards in the deck, I do run 2 Deathwink.
Alright.
I don't run more than 2 because it costs 3 Dawn.
Yeah, it's
and
expensive.
I mean, if you're 9-drop Mihawking, you're not going to have 3 Dawn. If you're playing 7-drop Ivankov, you're probably not going to Deathwink as well. But being able to +6 something and then draw 2 cards that you probably know what are at the top of your deck. And then also the trigger is just return 1 character with a cost of 7 or less to the owner's hand.
Oh, wow.
Which did end up, I don't know if it won me the game, but it helped a lot. I did see it off trigger and it was nice. So 2 Deathwink is where I am very happy with it at.
Makes sense. A stellar performance, of course.
Thank you.
Just overall thoughts regarding the deck. Where do you think it excels? What matchups do you think that, you look forward to facing? What do you not want to play against?
So it's a control deck. It's really good at controlling the board, but it's really bad against other control decks. So I went against the Red-Green Law, and it was like facing an uphill battle the whole game, because besides your 9-drop Mihawk and your 6-drop Luffys, you have no way of dealing with their board. So you kind of just let them do what they're gonna do.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah. So definitely, I'd say Red-Green Law was the hardest matchup. I haven't played it into Whitebeard. I really like it into
Zoro? I figured, yeah.
Zoro and Luffy. It feels really good into it, especially the Deathwinks, actually. In my Zoro matchup, Deathwink actually really helped with the +6 and then drawing 2 and just refilling my hand. I could kind of see that their face just shrank. So, yeah, I'd say into red, really good. Into Doflamingo.
Whoever goes first wins.
Yeah, whoever goes first wins, really, because Doflamingo gets so much value.
God, nothing's changed.
Yeah, it really is blue just wants to go first. So with this deck, even if you're going against a deck that wants to go second, you typically still want to go first. But I do sometimes when I go second just play the Luffy without the Ivankov just to get it on board because it's a huge threat. Yeah.
Well, thank you for your list. It was phenomenal. I hope next time you can do it with something maybe like Sanji or Blurple Kaido again.
Red, black, Garp. Red, black.
You know what? I'd love to see it. I'll leave it at that.
You'll see it.